to talk about that I am personally pretty excited for. It's a company called HelloFresh, and if you're not familiar with HelloFresh, they're a company that wants to change the way that people eat forever, basically by delivering easy-to-cook, convenient meals that are great tasting and nutritious to your door. Keeps you from having to go out to the store, spending endless hours. Like, it always takes me forever to prepare like a shopping list because I have to look up a recipe. I got to figure out, okay, it's always for like 18 people or something that you're trying to cook. Like, oh, buy 8 pounds of pork loin or something. And I'm like, well, how do I convert that to something I can eat with me and my girlfriend? And it's like an hour before I figured out what recipe I want to cook and how to cook it. And then I got to go to the store and shop. Well, HelloFresh makes it super easy because they box all that shit up in 2-person or 4-person meal plans.
I think when you said shit, you meant to say great tasting and nutritious food.
It's a colloquialism. They're boxing that shit up and they're sending it to you.
Shit can mean so many things.
Right. Directly to your door. It's great shit. Trust me. So they sent me 3 meals and I've tried them all. They sent me a salmon meal, a salmon dish, a chicken dish, and a beef dish.
It was a beef Wellington?
It was not beef Wellington.
Oh, Ramsey would be so disappointed.
No, it was some kind of, like, I forget the exact name of the dish, but it was a like steak on top of salad sort of thing. Very fresh. Like, I was impressed with all the ingredients that came with it. First of all, the recipes were really good. Like, my favorite, I think, was probably the chicken dish, which was like chicken and farro and mozzarella and like a lot of different kinds of spices. And they correctly portion everything for you, so you don't have to like, oh, break open a package, use a third of it, and then throw the rest away in 2 weeks, or let it sit and rot in your cabinets like I always do, which is really handy for me. It's also very fresh. Like, they just send you
a live chicken.
Yes, they send you a live chicken. And no, it's also way more convenient than that. They send you the dead chicken, pre-skinned, pre-defeathered, and it's, you know, they send you like greens that look better than half of the greens I've seen in the stores. Well, they do it all with like a big box with a bunch of like ice packs in the bottom.
Oh, so they actually do. They got some kind of chilling device.
Right. So they put like some styrofoam at the bottom of a box with ice packs under it, and it keeps everything cool while it sits at your door while you're at work or whatever, and you come home and get it. And all of our stuff was super fresh, and it was super tasty. So I was really happy with the service. I've tried other services that send you like pre-cooked meals to where, you know, it's already prepared for you. And it's not as satisfying because I kind of like to cook. So if they can send me the ingredients and I can make something in 30 minutes or less, that's always a bonus. And also, this is way, way tastier because it's not preheated stuff. You're actually cooking it.
Sounds like a good time for the old taste buds.
Okay. Is that their slogan?
Yeah.
A good time for the old taste buds.
That's for that. You can have that for free.
Yeah. So they also have a full-time employed dietitian on staff to make these things nutritionally balanced, which is pretty awesome.
I've always wanted one of those.
Yeah. So right now we're actually doing a special offer with them. If you go to HelloFresh.com, that's HelloFresh.com, and you enter the promo code TWD, you can save $35 off your first week of deliveries when you subscribe. And that's actually a pretty hefty discount, I think. So go check it out, HelloFresh.com, use promo code TWD, and enjoy some fresh and tasty food delivered right to your door.
Treat for the old taste buds.
Okay. We start off with Beverly B. She says, this show is definitely on probation, and it's not because they killed Glenn or Abraham or broke Rick, but because the entire episode appeared to be designed to torture the audience. A, by giving 20 minutes to merely catch up with where we were months ago. B, by consistently making us think someone was losing a hand. And C, by showing every single character get hit by a bat. The show has dealt with horror and cruelty for years, but this came across like they were being cruel to the audience. There's always been something vaguely unrespectable about watching this show. I'm a professional woman with children, for Pete's sake. If I forget and make a reference to The Walking Dead in the office, I have to face the Puritans who say they could never watch this stuff, and I weekly try to explain that much of the violence is cartoonish and the love I have for the characters, and to be honest, this always felt weak. I didn't think I convinced anyone, but I didn't really care. I love the show, didn't care if other people didn't get it. But this was the first episode I was kind of embarrassed to have watched.
Wow.
So a lot of people are talking about, just the extreme gore in this episode. I have a opinion of this that has been very long in the making. What do you think about like the level of gore that was in this episode?
What's the emailer's name?
Beverly B.
Beverly B. Beverly, I think you've got some cognitive dissonance about your choices of entertainment that are causing you unneeded guilt and fucking with your ability to enjoy it. That's just my personal opinion as someone who's had a lot of cognitive dissonance in my life. Fuck those people at your office. Like you don't have to define your enjoyment of something in the terms of their inability to deal with violence and adult situations and stuff. Yeah. So like if you're embarrassed because you like this, if you're embarrassed for watching this show for a variety of reasons, I mean that's your business and you're free to do it. But I would hate for your enjoyment to be shaped by the expectations and judgments of other people because there's no subjective reason to feel that way. Like they don't have any moral superiority over you because sure. This is something because it'd be one thing. There's people that watch this for the violence and they don't feel anything. It's just it's just an admiration of the special effects and that's fine. I watch it and when they do stuff to me and it makes me feel something, I enjoy that. Like I felt sick in this episode. I felt devastated, and part of the reason I watch fiction is because I like to feel those things. So yeah,
I felt sick too, but I have a cold. So.
What's your opinion?
That's largely congruous with my take on it. I have been a horror fan for a very long time, mm-hmm. and horror is something, especially back in the day, that a lot of people didn't take seriously. A lot of people thought was both ridiculous and schlocky and ultra-violent and gratuitous and all those things. I have long since come to terms with the idea that people may hear that I love horror movies and bad horror movies at that and, form an opinion of me. Don't care because I enjoy those things.
Right.
And if you think that this is out of line, you need to go look at more horror because this is not an especially gory episode. I mean, or of The Walking Dead it is, but not an especially gory horror adaptation.
Well, there's other things like in
the opening scenes of the original Dawn of the Dead, it's a dude running into a building, raiding a building, and going insane and blowing people's heads off in the projects. Like, just people's heads exploding in a shower of gore and blood. Like. Right. Those are the kinds of things you're going to see in horror, and if you enjoy those on any level, this is not any worse than that.
Well, I do think there's a difference between that, where is like, yes, that's a horrific scenario, but we don't feel one thing or another about the person pulling the trigger to people's heads exploding. Whereas Glenn is struggling to say with his last conscious moments one last reassuring thing to his wife, and a tragic thing. The fact that I'll always find you, that's always been true, and now it's not.
Well, look at things like The Fly. I mean, The Fly is fucking horrifying in the same ways.
But what I'm saying is, like, everyone's got to draw the line. Like, I don't like torture, what I call torture porn. I don't like Hostel. I don't like the green fucking bush or whatever, the green inferno.
Yeah.
Or I don't like that stuff that's just purely sadistic. I don't think this passes that bar because I think Negan is a far more interesting person and he's doing these things for a particular effect. It's not just sadism for sadism's effect, but that's a purely subjective.
Right.
It's a purely subjective opinion that I have. I'm not saying that you're a bad person if you like it. It's just like that's not my kind of fun,
And the people who can't distinguish between someone who enjoys watching this stuff in a fictional setting on a television screen and someone who would actually go out in real life and do this shit,
right?
They aren't. Their opinion isn't valuable.
Right.
Because there are certainly people who enjoy it like myself who would never do these things to real people.
Right. And there's certainly people that are turned off by this that if the chips were down would be fucking jackbooted Nazis shoving people in the gas chambers and ovens. So Beverly, I would say that like don't let others shape your opinions. If this is the opinion that you're having and it's your genuine critical reaction, you should obviously listen to that.
Yeah, if you're disgusted by it, you don't have to watch it.
Yeah. But I would encourage you to make sure that that's your voice and not others, and also to not let not do the same thing. Don't judge others because they do enjoy it. So, but yeah.
All right, Dan from Philly says, well, they sucked me back in, damn it. 6 months later, a week of Walking Dead nonstop on AMC, all leading up to one hell of an episode. Dark, twisted, it was everything it always should have been. Was it ridiculous to have Daryl get Glenn killed? Sure, but it worked, and everyone knew AMC wasn't killing off their moneymaker.
And I bought it. I actually think that's a genuine reaction that Daryl would have.
Yeah, he's an animal. He wouldn't be able to control himself.
Mm-hmm.
I hated the cliffhanger, but the bastards made up for it. The scariest part of all of this is there's 15 more to go, and where or how do they top this? So I'm trying to include like the gamut here. I want people who said
totally.
They loved it, people who said they hated it, and
that's the thing. Like I feel like I've been generous with my praise of this episode, and I'm genuine in that praise. I will say that if they don't fuck around, this could be a very memorable stretch of 16 episodes.
Right.
If they do fuck around, then it can be another hit and miss, up and down, uneven season, and we will see what they do. Like, are they going to have
next episode? Sasha and Maggie walk to the hilltop.
If they tell this Negan plot full throttle and they don't stop and they don't have diversions, they don't they're going to do this very special episode of Negan as a child for 4 episodes. Or if Morgan and Carol don't traipse through the woods debating morality.
The big problem.
Yeah. Also, how does this change? Because how does this change Carol? Carol's a one-man army. Like if Rick unleashes her,
she's just gonna Tasmanian devil.
Like she's gonna be Achilles.
Well, she's out on her own. I mean, Morgan and her just I don't know what the hell they're doing, but they're not in Alexandria anymore.
Sure.
So.
Yeah,
he'd have to find her.
Like I said, this could be an all-time classic season. This could be the exact kind of season that The Walking Dead needs. That Scott Gimple can announce that I am here and I'm taking this thing to where its rightful place in the TV pantheon is going to be. Or it could be more of the same. Yep. So it's both of those possibilities are as always on the table at this show.
Well, we heard the good. Let's hear the bad. Mitch from South Carolina says, what a bummer. What a wasted opportunity. Can you imagine last season's finale if they just showed the deaths and started with the grief to begin the season? Amazing acting, amazing shots, hell, even direction. No complaints about the actual deaths, just ruined by Gimple Kirkman. Don't even get me started on the torture porn with the axe and all the disrespectful trolling of the comic fans. I'm out. Thank God for Westworld. So a lot of people, both on the internet and in our feedback, proclaiming they're out. They're done with the show.
Wow. It's interesting because I don't, ever since I've turned this mailbag over to you, it's been nice because my opinion, I don't know what other people are going to say. I would have guessed that the by far majority reaction was going to be, I'm reinvested. Yes, it's a bummer. Yes, they should have done things this way. They should have done things that way. But I feel like I am kind of, this is why I watch The Walking Dead. And this is kind of like the best, the best of The Walking Dead can be. And of course, it's directed by Greg Nicotero and written by the Gimple. This is the giants of the field.
I was skeptical that Nicotero actually directed this one when I saw that dawn was breaking. I thought maybe he would just skip.
That's where the fog came from. It rained, dawn broke, the sun heated up the ground, the sun went back. It was a reversed orbit. So give me a breakdown percentage-wise, fan reaction, just judging by our mailbag.
It was pretty split, I'd say. I thought it was maybe 60-40 positive, but
really,
I think a lot of people made up their mind last season,
and they were kind of watching this episode, arms crossed, like win me back over.
Right.
I'm actually
and nothing would have done that for them.
Yeah, I mean, people say that all the time, but I'm always interested in whether they really mean that because
there are some people who probably thought that and said that, and then they'll continue to watch anyway.
I guess that's fair too.
I view the audience as very fragmented, and every time they break off a fragment, they lose audience share on this show.
And also, maybe we're representing because I guess I've had a break with this show before, where like I just can't take it that serious anymore.
Right.
And they need a full 16 episode of like balls to the wall execution at a very high level to get me back to where I could be disappointed. But so maybe some of these people are just like they've been hanging on and this is now the breaking point, and they're still going to keep watching the show, but maybe more like we do. I don't know.
Yeah,
because it's confusing to me like why this would be the one of all the missteps. Like why is this the one that man? I just felt like gave us a lot of red meat.
Yeah,
literally.
Yeah,
lots of red twitching, gross piles of meat.
Yeah. David says, though I'm impressed the show finally killed someone of real importance, and he says he was yelling at his screen for only killing Abraham, and then they got him good. My question is more about the universe as a whole. In this episode, we had a massive group of people screaming, crying, talking, guts being splattered all over the ground, and not a single walker attacked this buffet of flesh and brains. We also had them drive an RV into the middle of a horde of walkers with zero issues. I'm in the middle of rewatching from the start, and it is clear the walkers have become increasingly weaker. In the first season, walkers not only run and run fast, but they attempt to turn doorknobs and even use rocks to break glass doors. I know in later seasons, cars, trucks have broken down by just running over too many walkers as well. So, my question is, why did the walkers become so pathetic? Is this the show's way of telling the audience that the walkers are actually fading away, or that the longer they stay dead, the more human traits they forget, or am I giving this show too much credit? This is a perennial question, right?
So I think it's both. I think number one, all those rules in the first season were Darabont things, and they had like the zombie Bible, and they intended to kind of like stick to that, and then that zombie Bible got thrown out with Darabont.
Yep.
Clean out your fucking office and take that fucking Bible with you. On the other hand, I do think this is something in the comics too, that yes, these zombies, why their rotting is slowed and retarded from the fact that they've got whatever it is virus. It's not as aggressive as you would expect a decomposing corpse to be.
Right.
3 years in the heat of Georgia or whatever, the swamp-like conditions of DC. Mm-hmm. It's still taking its toll, and the zombies are increasingly not the threat that they used to be.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay. Mark C. says, sorry, I'm going to be that guy. They should have totally ended Season 6 at Suck My Nuts. It would have given us a false sense of security and would have given more of a punch to Glenn's death. So he's basically saying, kill Abraham in the finale, kill Glenn in the premiere.
Well, so that's interesting because, I mean, I think optimally they should have just ended with this episode and maybe shortened up a lot of the Morgan crap that they were pulling.
Right.
But that would have been interesting because if they'd ended on Abraham's death, we wouldn't have had the meta discussion of, oh my God, they're dicking around with us and they're stretching things out, and then they could have opened with Glenn's death, and we would have got kind of almost the best of both worlds. Like I don't know, because that certainly no one would be looking for another death.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know if that'd work. Like I said, in a perfect world, we would have ended at the end of this episode, and then everybody's jazzed about, because that's the real mystery, is how is Rick going to overcome this? Is Rick going to overcome this?
Yeah.
And not just Rick. This is no longer just Rick's problem. This is affecting a lot of people.
One last point from Mark C. He says, also, poor Enid is still trapped in the closet 6 months later.
Well, also, what is Tara going to do when she gets back?
Oh, my God. Right. I forgot Denise is dead and she doesn't know yet.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like that time in Community when Donald Glover went to go get pizza and he comes back and his apartment's on fire. Like, it's that gif,
That's pretty, yeah.
That's going to be a hell of a shoe to drop. There's like 4 or 5 shoes that have dropped, and people don't have that many feet. So.
Yeah, because, I mean, she had an attachment to Glenn. Glenn's the one that brought her in, right?
Yeah.
To this group and said, hey, we accept you. Even though you were part of the governor's crew, we're going to take you in.
Yeah. So
she's got the double whammy coming when she gets back.
Yeah, no, totally.
Ben from London, Ontario, not UK.
Right.
Says, I actually thought it was a good episode. A little stalling at first, that's to be expected, but in the end they did a really good job setting Negan up as someone to be feared. I thought one of either Carl or Rick was losing their arm for sure. Here's the problem with the show, and they've done this for the last 2, possibly 3 finales and mid-season finales. They're always one episode off. The episode 1s and 9s are always phenomenal, and then they're downhill from there, showing the fallout. The 1s should be 16s, and the 9s should be 8s. ends the season off with a bang and then build it back up for a finale. Not sure why they're not doing this. They're like the reverse Game of Thrones right now.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, and that's a great way to articulate it.
Just shift everything one episode, right?
Right, and also I think we're letting them off easy too, because the level of intensity throughout the mid part of the season there should be a constantly ratcheting up tension. It shouldn't all just be bang finales. It should always be, ideally, something that really grips you and hooks you, and some mystery and some character moments and some intrigue and some action that slowly keeps increasing until you hit these resolutions of the finales. But yeah, like,
everybody needs to take a page out of Breaking Bad's book. It's pedal to the metal. It's constant build up to a season finale that blows your mind.
I mean, it's not constant. I remember podcasts, and there was 2 or 3 episode stretches where there was lulls to build that tension.
Right,
but also not.
But that's also like surfacing characters and getting them into the place where they need to be for that final moment. Right?
Yes.
It's not like they're out in the woods just rehashing things that they've talked about for 3 seasons in a row now.
Right.
So, I don't know. Cheryl from Steeler Nation. I don't know what Steeler Nation is, but whatever.
It's Pittsburgh, but it's a fundamental misunderstanding of the difference between a nation and a metropolitan area.
Okay. Hey, guys, I'll keep this short since you probably get a metric ass ton of feedback for the season premiere. Have a question for you. Never mind the fact that we're talking about a show where people are constantly getting ripped apart and eaten alive by zombies. Kids are murdering kids, and a man is forced to watch cannibals eat his leg, but a bat to the head is too much. What do you think of all the people who are rage quitting over the violent content of the first episode?
I think this is a slightly different question from before, in that, I mean, I can't throw too many stones because I live in a glass house, which was the Americans. Like,
right.
I had seen a whole bunch of ethically and morally questionable shit, and a guy seducing a 13-year-old is where I tapped out. Now,
and never fucking that 13-year-old, might I add.
Well, I mean, but dangling, it's kind of like, them dangling the possibility that he might fuck a 13-year-old is gross to me.
Haven't they done that in The Walking Dead? Didn't somebody threaten to fuck Carl?
It wasn't the hero. It wasn't the hero. It wasn't Daryl debating whether it was a good idea or whether he should do it for the good of the team.
We're not sure. He hasn't debated that.
So I'm saying I'm not defending that, because this is not, and people that watched Americans weren't monsters and weren't child predators or weren't being. I mean, I'm not trying to say that. On the other hand, like, so that was a difference of kind. Mm-hmm. Like Philip seducing, Swedish ambassadors was different than him seducing with the aid of drugs a 13-year-old a girl.
Sure. With the aid of music, by the way.
I thought it was dry. Didn't he get her high too?
He did it mostly with music.
I don't know. Just a guy showing up with some fucking Miller High Life and a blunt. And
I think it was White Lines
Floyd
that sealed the deal. I really do.
But anyway, I think that was a difference of kind, not degree. This seems like a difference of degree. Like, we did see guys get their heads bashed in with bats and slit their throats like cattle. But I also think that people also like to rationalize their decisions. Like, I don't think any person that didn't have their foot already out of the door on this show would say that. Okay. I mean, the human condition's vast. There's probably some people, but I think a lot of this is just people wanting an excuse to quit the weekly ritual of watching a show. They're invested. They spend a lot of time. They don't want to feel like this is some arbitrary knee-jerk reaction, and it probably is. So they're like, well, this is just a shocking level of violence that I wasn't prepared to watch.
And there are probably some people who legitimately, like, this was the line for them.
Yeah.
And that's fine, too, You know
what the line AMC found is that they wouldn't cross?
What?
The line was on Carl's arm.
Oh, God.
They'll go right up to it, but they won't cross that line with an axe.
There's a really great Duran Duran joke in here somewhere, callback, but I can't find it.
Okay.
I can't find it.
So
we're going on to Shelby, who says, so now that we know that it is Abraham that got the bat first, 2 things. If the point of view in the finale was Abraham, then why don't we hear him tell Negan to suck his balls in the finale?
Damn good question.
It's because they played fast and loose and they were trying to trick us.
I don't think they had. I don't think they decided. There was some kind of probably AMC had to sign off in triplicate on whoever they killed, and that they didn't have that done.
Right. Okay, second question. What was with the continuous point of view in the van in the finale when Abraham was never actually in the van? Why would you spend a whole episode insinuating that a person in the van gets the bat first when they clearly don't?
Wait, why? I guess I don't. That was a theory that I never really signed off on.
Okay, I was going to see how much you remembered about this, because I vaguely remember people talking about the POV in the van.
I do too, and I thought I remember saying that I don't really agree with that.
Right.
And I thought that's
true.
dumb. I mean, some of these things are like every once in a while the show tries to play the big boy camera tricks and POVs that it's not quite ready for, and I think that might have been one of the cases. But I never found that very persuasive.
Okay. Phil in Indy says he should have just watched Westworld instead. As a casual viewer who didn't rewatch any of the episodes leading up to the premiere, I felt like there was a real lack of build-up and impact to the deaths of Glenn and Abraham. I'm right there with you, Phil and Indy. They didn't hit me the way I think they would have in the finale. The episode throws me right into what is supposed to be one of the biggest moments of the series, but after several months of off and on interaction between these characters and their loved ones before they go, I'm not feeling the weight of the moment like I should. It's like I forget why I should care.
Yeah, I mean, I cannot argue with that.
They did the best they could coming back, like building it up. I thought they almost pulled it off for me, just maybe slightly damper than it would have been had it happened last season.
And I don't know, maybe I found it easier to put myself in the point of view of someone who's seeing a loved one just be horrifically mangled, and like kind of like the weird courage that both Abraham and Glenn showed in their final moments. And just how, like, what a horrible mockery it was. Like, Glenn trying to do this heroic, noble thing and touching thing for his wife, and with his eye bulging out and his skull fractured. Like,
yeah,
it's
just don't bother, man. You're just scarring her more.
But that's part of the tragedy. I mean, it's just horrible. It's horrific in every kind of way. And I guess that's kind of why I like to watch The Walking Dead. It's at its best, it makes us confront that thing, and somehow at the end of the day, the good guys should win. They should find a way to win. So yeah, like I don't know why it worked for me, and I'm not starting to feel like I'm doing a bad job of being the curmudgeon that I'm supposed to be for this show. Like I'm not giving, like I'm going to once again rope it up the audience. Like you're not going to get what you want from me.
It's that break you had, right? That we talked about. I mean, we're not taking the show quite as seriously because it has shown us that it doesn't want to be taken quite that seriously, and so we give it a little more latitude. We don't feel like we're going to be as critical of it because it's not what it's for.
Right.
Or at least I feel that way. Like I just more enjoy it for the sake of watching it, and it's well within my genres that I like.
Right.
So for me it still hits most of the time, and I'll keep watching
it. That's the thing. Like I guess I haven't. Maybe that's the difference, is that I laugh and enjoy the show when it falls on its face, but it also can surprise me. It's like a toddler.
Right. Okay.
Every once in a while they'll trip and fall, and sometimes they cry. They cry and like, oh, that's okay, buddy. Pick yourself back up. And then every once in a while they'll say, they'll give you a hug and make you feel good, or totally surprise you at what they say. But yeah, The Walking Dead is like a 2-year-old toddler.
Yeah.
At this point.
Jeremy L. from Pennsylvania says, hey guys, if you remember a while back, Robert Kirkman was on Chris Hardwick's talk show and basically flat out said that Glenn would not be killed by the bat. Clearly this is not the case. In retrospect, how does this make you guys feel about the show or Kirkman himself? This is a good time to talk about Kirkman's trolling.
Yeah, we've talked about this many, many times. Like what Kirkman does with his audience in the mailbag and on interviews, I find unconscionable, and I could never, ever, ever do it for people that have, given me millions upon millions of dollars in such a high profile. Like it's definitely my character to troll and to be a practical jokester, but it's also, I guess, I have too much feeling of gratitude to. It's sometimes funny to think about, but it's something you don't actually do.
Right.
The fact that he does, I find kind of horrifying, and like that's a reason to stop watching the show and stop giving him money right there.
Yeah, I have long since stopped listening to what Kirkman says about anything because he, I take him seriously, I guess, back in the day when he said the biggest mistake he made was to cut off Rick's hand. But as of late, it's the game of fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, 100 times, whatever. Can't get fooled again.
I also think it's a way to give the fans what they say they want, but also give the fans what they probably need. Like, they want people to give them answers, and they don't expect to get straightforward answers, so he gives them what seems like a straightforward answer. And spoil, like, you know, like, that's always dumb. Like, you know, you get these stars on television shows, and the host always get this impish look on their face, like, oh, can you tell us what happens next? Like, just once, I would love for Kit Harington to be like, fucking yeah, Daenerys actually wins. She sits on the Iron Throne. Well, like, and just a hush fall over the crowd, and everybody gets super bummed out. It's like, well, that's what you wanted, isn't it?
Right.
And there's a little bit about that I kind of admire, that he's doing this. Throwing it's like this flack. It's like, you know, it's like shooting flares and bits of tinfoil at your ass to throw off a homing missile. Right. Like, he's putting so much bullshit out there that how do you know what's real and what's not? Having said that,
this is the reason that I pay more attention to the fan communities and stuff, and the actual, like, independent spoilers that come out than what any actor or producer or director has to say about the show. Unless I feel like they're being honest to me, because none of it's all a smokescreen to some degree.
Yeah.
I mean, until you get past an episode, something has been aired, and people are talking about it in retrospect, they're never going to be able to be honest with you. And so it's pointless to listen to any of this. I don't watch The Talking Dead anymore. I don't read AMC's newsletters that I get sent.
I wish I had watched The Talking Dead last night, because it sounded like, I mean, I'm going to try to find some way to watch it, because it did seem they had like the whole damn cast on, and everyone's talking about it like it was a lot of fun. Not because I give a shit about what they're going to have to say, but just I kind of get a kick out of like how they interact with each other.
Right.
But yeah, no, I totally agree. Like,
but the fans are out there speculating and pulling pieces out of the episode, like conclusive proofs of things, and then you get spoilers leaked, and those are the things I pay attention to.
I don't even like watching the next week's on, because I've just learned from years of doing this is that their job is not to inform you. Their job is to treat you like a mushroom, to keep you in the dark and feed you a lot of bullshit, and keep you addicted to this information and be constantly thinking about the show.
Yeah,
I already constantly think about the show for without their involvement and their misdirection.
Yeah. All right, Olivia says, I'm one of the fans who was disappointed with the finale, and I felt cheated on an emotional character death by AMC with their social media hashtag #WhoIsIt, and how they exclaimed how great it would be to discuss it over the break. I felt like last night's premiere...
And no one did. I'm subscribed to all the forums, and no, that was not like
they did for like 2 days.
But it's mostly bitching about how stupid it was and how transparent the manipulation is. So fucking mission accomplished.
I felt like last night's premiere was all shock value, and it failed. As a comic reader, I remember reading issue 100, experiencing Lucille beating panel by panel. I was nervous and uneasy as we went to each character, realizing we were about to lose a great character. When Negan landed on Glenn, it wrecked my shit. I cried. I had to stop reading when Glenn tried to save Maggie while Negan taunted him about his eye being popped out, being gross as shit. I was overwhelmed with the idea of a pregnant woman watching her husband call out to her one last time as he was dying. Last night, I didn't feel that way at all, which is saying something since I'm 37 weeks pregnant and will cry at almost anything these days.
Holy moly.
I cried an hour prior to the episode because my husband hung up our son's mobile in his crib. I cried the other week watching the new Jungle Book movie.
Aaron, more emotional than a 37-year-old pregnant woman. Like, what's wrong with me?
When Abe took his first hit and told Negan to suck my nuts, I laughed like I'm sure most did. Then nothing. I didn't cry, nor was I saddened by his death or Sasha's or Rosita's loss. I knew AMC blew it with me when Glenn was beaten to death, and they kept showing Daryl's reaction more than Maggie. I was a perfect demographic for his death, a pregnant wife to really affect emotionally, and they failed. All I could focus on them is showing Daryl, and I knew they dropped the ball. I have this feeling we're going to spend more time on Daryl's man pain and guilt over his actions than Maggie's loss of her husband and father of her child. Well, I'm intrigued by the possible exploration of this, or of how this will affect Maggie and Daryl's relationship in the future. So what do you think about that? Is there any chance that Maggie's grief might get lost in the Daryl fallout?
Of course. Ideally, they should do justice to both.
Yeah.
But I've seen it happen before where, you know, Maggie's grief over her sister was completely overshadowed about whatever up their ass thing that she had with Glenn and
Daryl.
And Daryl's, you know, as he says,
Daryl's a constant spotlight stealer.
Right. I'm just really bummed out that they fucked this up so bad that so many people can't enjoy it.
Right.
It's so sad to me, and it's such a waste of
And
potential.
it was such an easy thing to get right.
Yep.
Such an easy thing.
Yep, and the fact that they sat and, like, I don't know whether this is decision. That's the thing I'll never know, whether this was something the AMC demanded and interfered with, or this is something in the writer's room. They're like, oh, yeah, this is going to be awesome. But, like, just the fact that, you know, nobody brought up that, like, oh man, like think about, like, what if we did it this way though? Like, think about the genuine emotion, like, and like you're talking about if it works, getting the cheap heat versus actually tugging on people's heartstrings and making them feel devastated, and like which is better. And I'm just, oh man, I'm really bummed that this is actually worse than I was expecting.
Well, this cliffhanger brings up kind of a problem in general, I feel, with cliffhangers, is that cliffhangers are only ever designed to bring your current audience back.
Uh-huh.
And that's a very strange thing to me when a show ostensibly wants to keep growing, right? If you can get people to say, oh my God, last season of that show was so good.
Or so nuts.
Or
so
nuts
devastating.
that they're going to tell their friends about it and say, you gotta check this out. Nobody can go to their friends and say, They've got a real big question at the end. Who's going to die? Because they don't care about.
Yeah, is it going to be Abraham or Glenn? They're like, who?
They don't know. That's only ever designed to bring current viewers back, not grow your audience. And I don't get it.
Nope. I always said that, like, cliffhangers are the cheap heat, and also there's effective cliffhangers and ineffective cliffhangers, and that finale earlier this year failed on both counts. But man, like I said, I really underestimated how bad it would be, because me sitting in my living room it did get me, and I thought there'd be a lot of like, oh, Walking Dead's earned another pass, but whew.
All right, Barry C from the UK says, surely Rick saying I'm not going to kill you. It's easy to lose this fact in the episode because of the time jumps, but he says, surely Rick saying, I'm going to kill you right after what happened when Daryl stepped out of line is the stupidest and most negligent thing he has done as a leader, yeah? He was lucky Negan thought it was so pathetic under the circumstances he didn't have to kill anyone else. So, I mean, Daryl jumps up and, he slugs Negan, but Rick tells him, I'm going to kill you. I mean, does he make good on the threat that he made? If anybody steps out of line, I'm going to keep killing?
Well, I mean, for one thing, this was past, like, everybody already beat to death, and he got right in his face and was, like, looking for a reaction. But I don't know. Like, to me, this is like pretending like the episode didn't happen, because the whole episode was precisely about how Negan was going to break Rick and how he's going to make him kowtow and eventually do it. And if, so
right, but if you're Rick in that moment, and you don't have the benefit of foresight into this episode, you've got to take Negan seriously, and if you step out of line, he's going to keep killing people.
Do you think that Negan is right in his psychological analysis of Rick?
It doesn't matter, because Rick is the question here.
Right,
like,
but
what's going through Rick's head?
If Rick is kind of I think that some of what Negan said about Rick being intoxicated with power and being addicted to the alpha dog persona and all that stuff was pretty true.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Negan beating Rick down or Rick stepping back up to Negan and saying that this isn't over. I don't know. Maybe he was trying to call Negan's bluff. Maybe he wasn't thinking. I felt like it was within Rick's character to still cling to this bravado that's worked so well for him, and this unshakable feeling that they can't lose. So, like, I guess, I don't know. It never even occurred to me to criticize the fact that Rick would come and say, "I'm going to kill you," because also he's counting
right, but it feels like a mistake as someone who just killed more people for someone stepping out of line, just did exactly what he said he was going to do. Rick is risking having that happen again by stepping out of line once again.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it is a mistake, but I also think it's a mistake within Rick's character, I guess.
Certainly, yeah.
Like this, like that's what I'm saying. Like, I guess, I harp on people making a lot of mistakes and whatnot, but like, there's out of character mistakes and there's in character mistakes.
Okay.
Like Walter White continuing to cook meth after he had $100 million in a storage shed was a stupid mistake.
Right.
And not justifiable, but it's also well within his character. So,
All right, Jeremy from Abu Dhabi says, "Love your podcast. Continue to listen weekly. However, I am done watching The Walking Dead. Season 7 premiere was disgusting and shameful and unequivocally horrible writing.
Wow.
It seemed the producers were trying to make up for 4 seasons of garbage script writing by giving fans the biggest oh shit moment they could create.
I think that's accurate. I don't know why you describe it as awful, though. Like, were they supposed to just be like, well, we'll just shit to bed. You guys are expecting us to shit to bed, so we'll just shit to bed.
Right.
Like, damned, talking about damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Right. Is this what you want?
Right.
Point to it.
Right, like a football team's down 40 to nothing in the fourth quarter. Like, do you take the snap or you just piss on the ball?
Yeah.
No one's expecting them to piss on the ball. I mean, like, you know, like, maybe it's futile, but don't you want them to hike the ball? And I don't know.
Yeah, that was probably the, I guess, most upset email I got. Just giving you the extremes. Joe from New York. The point is moot for now as he's locked up like a caged animal. But Daryl is absolutely the reason for Glenn's death. We talked a little bit about this. His recklessness has become a huge liability for the entire group. It was Daryl running off into the woods alone, the same woods where he last saw a half dozen armed saviors that got Glenn, Michonne, and Rosita captured and put in that lineup. His asinine defiance in front of Negan and Lucille was really just Glenn's killing blow. You can like the character and his badassness, but you cannot deny the show is using his stupidity to move the plot. He acts selfishly and has thus far faced no tangible consequences except for blame, and fans want to absolve him of even that. It'll be interesting to see how and if this massive karmic buildup is paid off at Negan's compound.
I'm not Yes, that last part I fully agree. That I'm not absolving Daryl of shit. I'm just saying that, like, we've had seasons of them pulling their ass out of fire by ripping throats out with teeth and biting nuts with teeth and doing all this other improbable stuff and still winning because that's what they do. You know, like, they're getting punished for using a successful playbook. And that's true. This is the plot. You are fully appreciating the plot. This is actually, for once, The Walking Dead is actually, that's the thing I think is funny, is that people are, like, accusing them of you know, doing these stupid things, but at least this is the one time that I feel like it's actually part of the plot. And I don't know, maybe because I've certainly had this accusation lobbied against me the other direction, and I've said, and middle fingers to the differing opinion. So maybe this is my comeuppance, but I feel like this is the one thing where, like, all of this stupidity is actually intentional, and you're supposed to think, like, what a Greek tragedy this all is, that Rick has finally run to the end of his rope, and what is he going to do?
Yeah.
And that goes for Daryl. I mean, down the line, Maggie, all that, you know, there's going to be a lot of recrimination and a lot of this was your fault and this is my fault, and how, you know, like, buckle up, because that's what's coming.
Yep. So Nathan P., final email, has a couple things to say. So first of all, you guys probably need a new iTunes podcast logo because I doubt Rick and Carl are dying before the end of the show. Should make it a contest or something. So if people don't know, what we do with our show logo is every time one of the original cast members from some promo shot that I pulled back in season 1 dies, we gray them out in the logo so that only the characters who are still living are in color. As of this episode, that consists only of Rick and Carl.
Carol's not in that?
No. Okay. Everyone else in that picture is dead.
All right.
So I did go ahead and modify the logo. So you are seeing the new logo with Glenn grayed out. Yeah, it's going to be a while, I think. And it had been a few seasons since I had to gray anybody else out, but it'll be a long time before I gray one of the two.
I guess we haven't discussed this yet. Do we... And this is the final email, so it's time to do it. Don't they get any credit for killing some OG cast and some fairly important, like 2 of them?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it sucks because the dumpster fire Glenn stuff in some ways spoiled this. In some ways, you know, I think it was lessened by having that really just big fiasco.
Yeah.
But... I don't know. I mean, it still works. It's still powerful. You still want Glenn around.
I felt like that. I always think that I'm going to be the toughest audience in the room, but clearly I'm not. I'm a softie compared to a lot of these people writing in, and that's kind of shocking to me that I'm not the most difficult to please fan in the room. Maybe that's the new normal now.
I feel like a lot of our podcasts have selected the audience that maybe wants to pick on the show a little bit more than the average fan. So maybe we're seeing a biased sampling. of Walking Dead fans. I'm sure there are many people out there who appreciated this much more than our particular
But it does
fans
seem like
did.
back when I was doing feedback anyway, that that's not even true. By the end of last season, I felt like our takes and like what Reddit was thinking and like what the forums were thinking and some of the other show communities were thinking were kind of 1-to-1. And like that, the big mishandling of the dumpster fiasco and the thing had kind of all brought. We are all kind of like hate watching The Walking Dead. Because when I got and I read, because I'm not reading the feedback now because you're doing that. But when I was reading Reddit, like it seemed like near universal acclaim with the asterisks of everyone saying, as good as this was, it would have been that much better had they not fucked up the end of last season.
Right.
And to hear people not even giving them that much credit, I guess, is kind of surprising to me.
Okay.
But and also, it's like maybe they're just I don't know, because like if they, if next week this is going to be a 2-episode arc of Carol and Morgan walking through the woods and like that stuff needs to happen, but like if it's just all about that and we go away from this reaction, I'm going to be right back to like, oh my god, they're back to squandering opportunities. So
right,
yeah, maybe I'm being, I don't know, I just felt like maybe I was more willing to be pleased because I was afraid to just go in with a totally negative reaction. But man, I feel like I'm really out of touch with what people are thinking after this feedback session.
Well, I mean, Nathan didn't even like Jeffrey Dean Morgan's monologuing, so
really,
yeah, he might have been impossible to please. He says we've waited this long for Negan to show up, and now we just want him to shut up. I don't know if I agree with that. I think Jeffrey Dean Morgan was the best part of the episode.
I thought he's magnetic.
Yeah,
he's terrifying and yet somehow cool. And
here's some good stuff, and I feel like this is universally praised. Praised section of the episode. He says that said, I felt more attached to Carl's arm than with either of their deaths. That was tense, if not slightly redundant. I would have thought Rick might have felt a little broken after losing his best friend and moral compass, but alas, it's due to his son that he submits. I think I was even more attached to Carl's arm than Carl was. yeah, I'm with you. That was by far the most effective part of this episode.
Also, Carl continuing to be a badass. Like, do it, Dad.
Right.
Like, he was ready.
Right, he understands the situation they're in.
Yep, he was ready to be salamified.
Yeah. So a couple of comments on the two deaths. R.I.P. Abraham, I guess, even though in total he's only scared his family to their deaths using a can of beans, rescued Eugene, a shitbird, helped Glenn find Maggie even though he didn't want to, dumped Rosita in the worst way possible, flirted with Sasha right in front of Rosita, and said a few lines and done a few crazy stunts. You will not be missed. R.I.P. Glenn, who has, and I shortened this list, it's still pretty long, admittedly saved Rick, so that's a plus, fell in love with Maggie and become useless both with and without her, agreed to being used as well bait, got captured alongside Maggie, needing rescuing from the governor, abandoned everyone for revenge right before the prison was attacked for the first time around, talked about abandoning everyone in early season 4 just for Maggie. That includes abandoning Rick, who helped him on multiple occasions, got sick and once again had his life in danger, abandoned the death bus, led a fist bumper into the group, walked...
That's there's lots of
true horror.
A lot of really horrific crimes. The well bait being chief among them.
Walked into a walker-infested tunnel because Maggie led his team right into Cannibal City, took shitbird Nicholas under his wing, Dumpstergate, went off on the Get Daryl Back group despite knowingly leaving his pregnant wife back at home, got captured by the Saviors, and also getting Maggie knocked up and deciding to start a family while there is still danger in every direction. Glenn, you will not be missed. So Nathan, laying down some harsh truths on both Abraham and Glenn. I feel like his selection of events might be a little biased toward throwing shade, but I like it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, what I said up front is like I imagine like if this was season 6 and they were doing this and not season 7, because I feel like there's about a year, maybe year and a half's worth of just bullshit.
Oh, a year of prison for sure. Yeah.
And like if we'd have been gotten there a little bit quicker, and if there hadn't been so many missteps and so many fan jerk moments, boy, man, this show could have been so good. And the fact that it's still capable of at least moving this this viewer, is still kind of incredible, I think.
All right, well, that's it. If you want to,
I have some spoiler things I want to talk about. Do we have any spoiler emails?
Yeah, we got one spoiler email I could do.
Okay.
If you want to get in touch with us and send your feedback in, you can do so at Walking Dead or Watching Dead at baldmove.com, either one.
Also, if you're bailing on the show, join us on Westworld. We're doing a podcast called Watching Westworld. You can find it on iTunes and on baldmove.com. And it's an awesome show. It's great.
Yeah,
it's great. So unequivocal recommendation. If you're about to bail and you want something to watch on Sunday nights, join us on Watching Westworld.
Yep, or you can go to the forums and talk to us at forums.baldmove.com. We're going to do some spoilers, but we're going to play a little music first. So.
Also, the other thing is we will be back to our full schedule next week.
Yeah.
We will be doing a live watch on Sunday night. I'm kind of glad we didn't do this one because it would have been a tough one to crack jokes on, and
right.
At least for me. Next week we'll be back. We'll be back for our live watch. So at 9:00 Eastern time, we will be simultaneously watching the show, and you can use our. It's hard to explain live watch technology if you're a Club Bald Move member to watch along with us, and it's kind of like imagine it's like a live Mr. Science Theater 3000,
right?
And you won't go too far wrong.
All right, well, join us for that stuff. If you want spoilers, stay till after the music. If not, we will see you next week. And until then, I'm Jim.
I'm Aaron. See ya.
And we're back with the spoiler section. You got a couple things you want to talk about first?
Yeah, so Rick saying, "I'm going to kill you." I know that one of the last emailers really kind of shit on that, but I think that is crucial to committing to the arc that eventually happens after All Out War and Negan is captured. Rick decides not to kill him, but actually does the Morgan-esque, make him a prisoner.
Okay.
And that is a huge swing in his character arc, which I think is important. And also it sets up a lot of other really creepy possibilities with... and I wonder also, too, because one of the cornerstones of this plot in the comics was that Carl gets kind of disgusted with his father because he thinks his father's turned craven. Because Rick really commits to the lulling Negan into a false sense of complacency, and Carl takes it upon himself that he's going to go to Negan's compound and get revenge, and which kind of impresses Negan with the boy, and they continue to have this really weird Hannibal Lecter Agent Starling relationship where Carl sneaks down to the prison and talks to the increasingly bearded and long-haired and Manson-like Negan about the nature of the world and humanity, and those things are really super interesting, and I think Chandler Riggs is rounding into a character that's going to make that stuff really work. Mm-hmm. I also thought, again, my remembers of the comic book arc are a bit hazy, but I remember Maggie almost immediately blaming Rick for getting her husband killed. Because Maggie wasn't the godfather in this. This was something that Rick it was Rick and his balls that got them in the situation. And I actually find it a lot more interesting that Maggie was feeling responsible on multiple levels. And I think that's the one thing that they, some of this stuff, some of these character alterations they've done actually have suited the character and make it more interesting. So I like the fact that Maggie was left. I don't know that they'll get around to her blaming Rick again, but her initial reaction of, being angry and defiant and then frustrated and then, guilty, like all those things were really interesting. And I thought they were kind of smart, natural, fallout from what they've done to the comic book plotline. And I'm so glad that they remembered that, because it's kind of like The Walking Dead to go ahead and change her arc and then still have her be pissed off at Rick. When she was stumbling over towards him, I thought she was going to punch him.
Right.
And I'm like, well, what the fuck, Maggie? But they actually made these changes and rolled them back into her character. So I'm glad we saw that. What feedback do we got?
We just got one email. I wasn't going to do a whole spoiler section for it, but now that we're in it, Ryan in KC says, do you think Daryl being taken by Negan will help lead to Dwight's face turn, supposing they even do it?
Har har.
Or does this seal the deal that this isn't going to happen and will somehow be remixed?
I actually think it's more interesting because, they've set Dwight and Daryl up to be these big nemesis. Of course, Daryl doesn't even exist in the comic books. I always thought it was one of the things I thought was pretty, and again, I haven't read the arc for a while, but I always thought it was a little hazy, Dwight's motivation for turning against Negan. And I thought maybe one of the things in the comics we were supposed to understand is that it was kind of a leap of faith to, trust that Dwight was not a turncoat, because we almost got, we really only got stuff from his POV, and Rick kind of trusted that blindly. I think that having Daryl over there...
You're just going to keep saying, we ain't them. It's not going to happen, and Dwight's going to go, eventually, yeah, you're right.
We ain't them. I think that having Daryl there as an inside man to kind of witness the fractures within the cult of personality that Negan has brought is going to be interesting, and it's going to make Rick seem less like desperate gamble and more like... right on, okay, this is going to seem more rooted in actually intelligence and less of a leap of faith. So, yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see, Daryl's kind of going through this process of soul searching. I think it's going to be interesting to see what becomes of his relationship with Dwight, because Dwight kind of owes him. And also, I forget Dwight's wife or girlfriend, Sherry or Terry or whatever,
yeah.
That's Negan's essentially got a harem of wives that he just claims and takes over, and that's if they go from the comics, the reason that Dwight's face got burnt is because he had trouble accepting that arrangement.
Right.
So that stuff is all set up to be kind of interesting.
Okay.
And I think maybe an improvement over the source material.
Cool. Well, I'm interested in this next arc. From everything you've described.
And I just hope they don't shit the bed, because it'd be so easy for them to. All they got to do is resist their worst impulses and tell the goddamn story. And don't. You can have, Scott Gimple needs to learn, what people have been doing in episodic television forever, which is balancing an A, B, and C plot.
Right.
And he cannot fucking spin 2 episodes with Morgan and Carol at the expense of all this shit. You just can't do it, man. The fucking jury is in on that. It doesn't work. So you need to be able to advance what's going on. You got to figure out what's going on with Fist Bump and Heath. You got to figure out what's going on with Morgan and Carol. You got to continue to develop the plot with Alexandria and Rick
and then Maggie and Sasha.
You've got to be able to do that. You cannot fucking focus on everyone, because it's going to be a complete shit show if you do. And it sounds like that you're way worse with the fan community than I expected. So
right.
It's going to be these next few weeks are going to be crucial to see if they can learn those lessons, or if they're going to stubbornly continue to cling to the storytelling devices that have got them in so much trouble.
We'll see. We'll see next week.
Yep. See you then.